and a very warm welcome to all. I'm Neha Bhardwaj Alter and this is Game On. Australia yet again showed that Australia will be Australia in a World Cup. In how they won, despite South Africa threw everything but the kitchen sink at them. They were pushed into a corner as a spirited South African side kept rising back up till the very end of what turned out to be a low-scoring thriller. Chetan Narula and Vedam Shankar are here with us. Chetan hasn't slept all night due to the excitement of getting his predictions right. He said, whatever he said actually almost happened. So Chetan, yes, thank you very much. This is the moment for you to gloat.
Well, I don't have the best record in the tournament, but yeah, if you say so, I will. I mean, I told you, yes, Australia will be in the final of this tournament, and it was obviously going to be an easy task for them given the way they start their innings. I think apart from Rohit Sharma, Travis Head and David Warner, and obviously Mitchell Marsh, when he used to open the innings for Australia, they were the ones who get quick starts. So you get a quick start and then it's a matter of getting those couple of partnerships in. But South Africa, I mean, what a brilliant fight from South Africa. Yeah. This is the kind of fight that should give them heart going ahead. 2027, they're hosting the World Cup. So hopefully they can get those things, a few of those things which went wrong, get them right and, fight again in 2027. What a game. Deserving of a semi-final.
Semi-final, absolutely. And what about South Africa, though, Vedam? What is it about South Africa in semi-finals? You're either seeing them in a choke, a gut-wrenching choke, or you're seeing them in this spirited, heartbreaking loss.
Hi, Neha. Hi, Chetan. See, first and foremost, I think it was a very disappointing pitch. It was not befitting a semi-final pitch at all. And in fact, if South Africa got to 213, I think they have to wholeheartedly applaud and thank David Miller for the way he batted. That was a brilliant batting performance. But, the pitch was so poor. It definitely was not a semi-final pitch. And we saw that again. It was only South Africa's very poor skipper and the way they played. I can't believe that, when you saw the ball turning so much, he brought in Keshav Maharaj for the 15th over. And if I remember right, the other left-arm spinner came only in the 14th over. And Markham had bowled well. Suddenly he stopped him and brought him back in the 40th over. There were no aggressive field placings at all. There was a time when the entire thing was crying for a slip. And he didn't have a slip. He brought in a slip after the horses had bolted, actually. So I think the leadership is to be questioned. It was poor leadership. And I think it was a defensive leadership. At times I couldn't understand with this total at 213. Was he trying to defend it with some defensive field placements? You needed wickets at that stage. They got wickets, but they just couldn't shut the door. And that was a disappointing aspect of South African cricket. And I think they have to go back to the drawing board and wonder why they're doing this again and again. They have beaten Australia 4 times in the last 6 outings. And they had a drop on them, especially when they got 213. At one stage, it looked like they would be 130, 120 all out. But thanks to Miller, they got to 213. And that too could have been a winning total. But they just let it slip. The fast bowlers bowled for so long. And I think it was 60 for no loss in 5 or 6 overs. I mean, the whole thing was puzzling. Why did they do mistakes that they shouldn't have done? Was it a brain freeze for the skipper? I wouldn't understand. But I think this was a match that South Africa really lost. They came back well with that 213, and there were stages when they could have won it, but I think they lost it.
Interesting that you say that about the pitch. We're going to get Mitchell Starc's reaction to this pitch, and he's also said something very cheeky about the Ahmedabad pitch, but that in a bit. Let's just look back at the action. Now, from one stage in the tournament, being 10th out of 10 on the points table after losing to India and South Africa, Australia have made it 8 wins in a row to enter the World Cup final. Forced to field in yesterday's semi-final at Eden Gardens, the Australians did well to keep South Africa to 212 and then overcome a very nervous collapse to win by 3 wickets. Australia had the upper hand for the majority of the first innings after Temba Bavuma won the toss and decided to bat, with Mitchell Starc and Josh Hazlewood combining to reduce South Africa to 24 for 4. A superb century from David Miller proved The main reason that the Proteas got to 212 and how brilliant that innings was, as Travis Head then chipped in with 2 wickets to derail the middle order. Set a target of 213, the Australians began superbly thanks to their openers who put on 60 in 6 overs, as Vedam was just saying, before the South African spinners triggered a collapse to 137 for 5. That became 193 for 7 in the 40th over when Steve Smith and Josh Inglis were dismissed by Gerald Coetzee. But Mitchell Starc and Pat Cummins, they kept their cool to see Australia home in the 48th over and put the team in their 8th World Cup final. So now the record is this, that South Africa have lost 7 out of their 7 semi-finals that they've got to, and Australia have got into their 8th World Cup final. But you've also got to give credit to Australia just absorbing the pressure on a big stage in a knockout game, Chetan. If it was the other way round, if South Africa were in Australia's position, frankly, all of us would have said it's game, set and match much earlier. But because it was Australia, you just knew that they are going to fight it tooth and nail till the very end and probably beat South Africa. That's the baggage that these two teams carry.
Well, there's a reason why they are in their 8th final, Meha, why they are a monster when it comes to World Cups. You know, that mentality, you know, no other team has that, you know, what Australia has. And yes, you know, it's not the same players that have played all the finals, is it? But it's just the way, the culture in that dressing room, in that team, in that country, which is such a sporting country or a sport-loving country. It's just the mentality. They are mentality monsters when it comes to knockouts and when it comes to World Cup, the greatest World Cup nation in cricket, and that is Australia. So there was no surprise really when we were discussing in the evening last night about 213. We all were saying that Australia will get there. They will have a few hiccups, but they will get there. There was never a doubt in anybody's mind that Australia is not going to score these 213 runs. It was just a matter of whether South Africa would put a fight or whether they would go down neatly. So, yeah, no surprises at all. And yeah, I want to go back to that bilateral series they played against India and then the bilateral series that they played against South Africa before the India series. And it was not your typical Australian side. You know, we were talking about how they had lost 5 or 6 games in a row. They're just not winning at all. It was an Australia side that was probably just taking its time because they've had a very, very good year. They retained the Ashes. And of course, in India, they drew that Test series 2-1. They won the World Test Championship final. Now in the final of the World Cup, this is a generational, you know, year for Australia, if I can say so. Pat Cummins and McDonald, they set out these markers when they went on that India tour. You know, I'm talking about February, March, that this is what all we need to achieve. And more or less, they have achieved that. 2-1 lost Test series in India. That was not shameful at all. They won the ODI series thereafter, then the World Test Championship, then retaining the Ashes, and now in the final of the World Cup. And it's going to be a tough match for India. You know, this Australian side, they won, 8 games in a row. The only other side that has that kind of run is India. So a befitting final. I think the best 2 sides in the tournament, you know, they are going to be in the final. But the way they have become the best 2 sides is very, very different. India on the pump from the word go, and they have not put their foot off the accelerator. Whereas Australia, they started slowly. They had to bring about their change in their mentality, in their performances. It's just brilliant to see. And, you know, October 15th, they were 10th after those 2 losses. They were 10th in the standings. And now they are in the 8th World Cup final. Only Australia can do this. There's no other team in world cricket.
Absolutely. Now, the other question is that a lot of people are asking, did South Africa actually choke in this semi-final? Their coach didn't seem to think so. This is what he said in the press conference. You need to define what choking is, he says. For me, a choke is losing a game which you were in a position to win. Here, we were behind the 8 ball right from the word go and actually fought our way back into the competition and put up a score that gave us a chance. And then they got off to a flyer. So how we fought and put ourselves back into the game, for me, that's nothing even remotely close to a choke out there. Just a serious contest between two good teams. And I'd have to agree with him, though I don't know if Vedam does too.
Well, the facts speak for themselves. The first boundary that South Africa got was in the 9th over, with just two fielders outside. The first boundary they got was in the 9th over. And, you could see right in the beginning, you look at their faces, there was so much of worry, so much of stress. On the other hand, the Australians were cheering, laughing, grinning, patting each other and going about it in such an enthusiastic way. They just knew that you had to cut off the singles and these guys would choke. And that's exactly what happened. They used the wrong deliveries to go and hit it. They choked. They choked right from the beginning. Their batting was complete choke. You in modern day, with the modern day bats and this kind of where the ball stops swinging after some time, you can't take 9 overs to score a boundary. That's okay in a test match, but not in an ODI. Their first boundary came in the 9th over. And, you knew immediately that this side was choking. The fact that they finally got to 212 or 213 or whatever is thanks purely to Klassen and Miller. If it was not for that, they would have been all out for much, much lesser. And let's not forget, if Australia had to, let's say, play India, if India on the same pitch, on the same conditions, had to defend 212, I think Jadeja and Kuldeep Yadav would have run through the side. But before them, even the fast bowlers would have got to them. They would not have reached 150. I think South Africa choked while batting. Their captaincy was awful. I can't believe that this guy was captain and there was no help coming from the senior players or from outside. They were trying to defend. I mean, the whole way you look at it, his bowling changes are atrocious. And, they had a choke written all over. You might turn around and say choke is when you're batting, but this was, okay, let's call it brain freeze, whatever it was. But I think South Africa were pathetic. And when they go back and dissect what they have done, they would have realized that, and somebody said they're going to be the champions of this World Cup, in the beginning. And right then I said, they don't have the temperament for it. And it was proved again and again. They didn't have the temperament for it. And, in the semi-final, when you have to put your best foot forward, they didn't do it either while batting, while fielding, or captaincy, or even bowling. Some of those half chances, if they had been a little more aggressive, they could have made it into chances. See, this was a match for them to lose. Australia did nothing extraordinary. They just stayed there. They stayed the course. They knew if they played the 50 overs, they would win. And they did just that.
I thought, though, Australia did set the momentum in the way they started fielding and bowling first up. That sort of changed the whole complexion of the game, Chetan. Do you agree? In the way, first of all, yes, overcast conditions. Josh Hazlewood, he was bowling really well. Mitchell Starc was on the money right from the word go. But just the way someone like a David Warner was fielding inside the circle, or for that matter, Marnus Labuschagne, I mean, they would have, saved 20, 30 runs among themselves. You just got a sense like they really wanted to win this much more than South Africa did in the beginning, especially. It was a different thing that South Africa sort of just kept rising back up. Every time they were swatted down, they kept rising back up. But they really never were the team that were in control. It was always Australia.
I agree to what you're saying, that they were not the team in control, and they couldn't be the team in control because they opted to bat because it is what they're most comfortable doing. They've never been tested in terms of chasing in this World Cup, and whenever they've been tested, they've never been comfortable. In a big game situation, they did not want to be the team chasing, especially on a wicket which was going to play so slowly, despite the fact that there was rain around and BLS could have come in. So that decision was sound in terms of batting first, because even Australia said that they would have batted first on that particular pitch. So in terms of the conditions on offer, it was sound. But then it came down to how the bowlers were going to use those conditions. And look, in the afternoon with the cloud cover and the rain about, the ball was just moving around too much. I disagree with Vedam that South Africa choked in terms of their batting. The conditions were just perfect for Josh Hazlewood and Mitchell Starc to move the ball around. Talking about boundaries in the evening, last evening, Jamie and I were talking about the fact that Quinton de Kock shouldn't have been trying to score. In fact, they should have been trying to score, 30 runs or 40 runs without losing wickets in the first 10 overs. That was the discussion yesterday evening. And we can't suddenly change the narrative and say that they did not score enough boundaries in the first 10. There were no boundaries to be scored, the kind of way, Hazelwood and Mitchell Starc were bowling. In those 10 and 15 overs, they needed to stay at the wicket. What South Africa needed to do was not lose those wickets. Just look at the way Aiden Markram got out. He was trying to get to the pitch of the ball. The ball stood up and stuck, and he couldn't get to the pitch of the ball. So it was too paced, despite that the ball was moving around. It was probably, if you consider the entire game, it went to the 48th, 49th over in the second innings. So out of the 98, 99 overs, those first 10 overs were probably the toughest. On a slow pitch, the ball is stopping, even with the pacers, and it's swinging. So from that aspect, I think Australia, like you mentioned, with their fielding, even South Africa fielded well. They missed a couple of sharp chances, yes, but they fielded well. They created that pressure. If you look at how Australia was 5 down for 130 odd, they squeezed them, they choked them. So choked the scoring, in fact. So both sides were up there in terms of the fielding. Australia created a lot of pressure towards the beginning. South Africa did it towards the latter part of the game. But yeah, it's just that the toss that they won didn't really work out for them. So yeah, in my book, that was not at all a choke. Absolutely not.
I suddenly feel normal on the show because it's just another day when Chetan does not agree with Vedam on game on. But we've got to talk about the sticky topic of Temba Bavuma, gentlemen. He's been trolled throughout this World Cup. There have been question marks about why is it that South Africa keep on sticking with him. There is, of course, a racial connotation to it as well. That is he there because of a quota? So there are all these questions that have been doing the rounds. But there is one fact, and the fact is that he has been terrible, abject in this World Cup. Not coming into the World Cup, he was one of their best batters in ODIs this year, but in the World Cup, he has just been dismal. So, did South Africa err in a huge way by continuing with Temba Bavuma? Is that something you guys both agree to, Vedam?
See, I don't know, but at the end of this tournament, what it shows is that Bavuma was a wrong choice as captain. He was not an inspiration. He might be a very good batsman, but he was not an inspirational figure at all. Now, all this about being very difficult to bat first. You won the toss, for God's sake, you won the toss. I mean, it was yours to decide whether you want to bat or chase. If you knew it was going to be tough to bat, you should have bowled. But you don't have the confidence to chase. So even if you have to chase 100 runs, you're not sure if you will do it. So that something is wrong with the captaincy. There's something wrong with the team decisions being made. And this is known right from the beginning. Yes, there is a quota system, but I don't know whether it is a racist thing. There have been great black captains. Let's not forget that. There have been great black captains for West Indies to start with, but also in other nations. So I don't think it's so much of a racist. It's just that he's a bad captain and he was thoroughly exposed. You need to be an inspirational captain. You need to, and if he's going to go opening and throw his wicket that way, I mean, it just doesn't work. You can say he got a very tough delivery. Yes, he got a tough delivery. But again, like I said, let's not forget that he won the toss. He won the toss and chose to bat. If he had lost the toss and was forced to bat, I can understand that. But what are we giving excuses for? They batted badly. And especially in the first 9 overs, saying that they couldn't score boundaries is ridiculous. You got to put pressure on the bowler. If India does that tomorrow, would we condone that? Would we say, okay, it was too difficult, that's why they took 9 overs to get a boundary? Would we accept that? You must understand that, this is a modern game. You need to go out to the bowling. And the openers are there just for that. The first 10 overs, there are only 2 fielders outside. You got to take advantage of that and not just try to push the ball. They're pushing the ball most of the time. You might say that Warner threw himself left and right. Yes, but because the batsmen were pushing the ball, they were not hitting the ball. And I think South Africa just choked. There was no footwork. Their feet just wouldn't move. And that's a classic example of choking, when your feet don't move. And that's exactly what happened. To give excuses to South Africa, like saying, tough pitch, great bowling, it's all ridiculous. You did not make the effort and you paid for it. And Bavuma, sorry, he is a bad captain. He needs to be changed as quick as possible if South Africa wish to progress. He's a good batsman, but not a captain.
Okay, but their coach, Rob Walter, does not agree. He backs Temba Bavuma completely. He says, I just told him how proud I am of him. He also goes on to say, you know, he marshaled the troops this evening unbelievably well to get the game close. I thought strategically the way he operated, along with obviously the sort of senior heads around him on the field, the different pressures created through the field positions, I thought it was an excellent effort to defend that score. Then he talks about how it's not easy for Temba Bavuma. He says that, but beyond that, he says, you know, sometimes it's not easy. Let's put that quote up as well. There's a second quote about Temba Bavuma. He says, but beyond that, you know, sometimes it's not easy to walk through a tournament when you aren't delivering yourself, but the batters around you are. But the important thing is that we operate as a unit. He was the lead man that got us into this tournament in the first place. I think people forget that. So just wanted to make sure that he was aware of how important he is in this team and how proud I am of his efforts and the way he led throughout the tournament. So clearly there is, he's got the support of the team management, and that's the reason why he has played all these matches despite a lot of noise outside that he shouldn't be captaining the side. Clearly he has the support of the team. I'm not so sure, Chetan, that he has the support of the players, or especially the senior players, given that they would be seeing this, his constant, consistent struggle in this World Cup and still persisting with him.
No, look, there are two ways to look at it. First of all, is there a quota system? You know, when Vedam says there have been great black captains, yes, there have been. It's not a racist thing, but it's what's ingrained in South Africa. Have there been great black captains in South Africa? No, there haven't been. Is a racist issue with cricket South Africa? Yes, it is. It has nothing to do with the cricket in Caribbean or black cricketers anywhere else in the world. It is what is happening in South Africa. So the quota system is just about cricket South Africa. Is he there in the playing 11 or in the squad that there need to be 2 or 3 players of color in their playing 11? Yes, that is the reason why he played yesterday when he was not 100% fit, especially when they dropped Lungi Ngidi because they had to play Gerald Coetzee. Simple as that. There's no getting around it. Now, the other way to look at it is Temba Bavuma at fault for it? No, personally, he is not at fault for it. He's just there because of the way the system has been put in place. He did not put the system there. So I think in the dressing room, they are split in terms of what they think about the situation because A, the situation has been prevalent for a long time. In 2015, I mentioned that yesterday on the show. In 2015, the World Cup semi-final, AB de Villiers cried because this quota policy denied South Africa the chance to play a proper fast bowler in that semi-final, and they ended up on the losing side. AB de Villiers crying in the post-match press conference. Now, again, 8 years later, you're playing with 10 men. He should not, I agree with Vedam on this. He should not have been playing for South Africa. He should not have been opening yesterday when Reza Hendricks is available. And I'd also mentioned what happened in Mumbai when both Hendricks and Klaasen had scored. They mentioned this system. So in the dressing room, they respect Bavuma for what he's done, for the kind of cricketer he is. Within his limitations, he's a good cricketer. And he did play a good role in getting South Africa to this World Cup. He had a good few months before the World Cup where he scored a lot of runs, which helped South Africa get to the World Cup, helped them qualify, avoid the qualifying tournament in Zimbabwe, which would have been an embarrassment to cricket South Africa. But he's still there in the playing 11 because of a quota system. When you have players like Markram, you have players like Klaasen, you have players like Quinton de Kock, Miller, who can lead the side. Even Rassie van der Dusen, they're all capable of leading the side. The kind of decisions Bavuma made yesterday, it's not like if he hadn't been on the field, those decisions wouldn't have been made. So it's not some great captaincy that he showed yesterday. In fact, he was actually very poor with his captaincy, as Vedam outlined, that there was no slip. They took off Aiden Markram. I was shocked that Markram, who bowled Warner off the very first ball with a spinning delivery, how come he did not bowl complete 10 overs? It was absolutely shocking to me. So it is split wide open in terms of how they feel about the situation. To me, it's untenable that you carry on with Temba Bavuma.
Okay,
he
here
had to
in
give up the
his-
T20 captaincy.
I get your point. I get your point. But in his defense, coming into this World Cup, he was their highest run scorer. Okay, just one second. Just let me complete. Highest run scorer, averaging 80 this year. One of the reasons his 100 against England is what helped them qualify automatically for the World Cup. So I'm putting all of this here, and his overall ODI average is also not aisa vaisa, it's 47.
Yeah.
So
So like I said,
yeah,
as
I'm
a
just putting it
cricketer,
all
he
out
is
there. There is
respected.
not somebody, I don't see this as just being a quota problem. I
No,
don't
no,
see
that-
this
so
as
yeah.
just being a quota
So-
problem. I don't think he's being played into that side just because they need him, you know, how many number of players they need, color players, that's the reason. He's actually done well for the team coming into the tournament.
Agreed. He's done well for the team coming into the tournament, which is why he's there in the squad, which is why as a squad player, he's been named captain. But you're talking about a semi-final here where he's not 100% fit and the quota is not being completed, Meha. You have to remember that. They dropped Lungi and Giri. They need to have 2 players of color in that playing 11. That's the quota system for Cricket South Africa. And if he's not 100% fit, he's not had a great run in this tournament. You're just playing him for captaincy when he's not your best captain on the field as well. There are both ways to look at it. He's a good batsman. He's scored those runs, which is why he was given the long rope and which is why he is in the squad. Should he have played this semi-final? Absolutely not.
It's an interesting one, you know. Do you see this that his job is slightly, or in a big way, larger than the sport itself because of what he represents to South Africa, because of all that has happened in South African history? It is complicated. We're not going to get into it. But do you believe that that is the only reason that he was captaining this side, Vedam? Do you agree with Chetan on this one?
See, I've been saying right from the beginning that South Africa's problem is their quota system.
Yeah.
With their quota system, they can't go much forward. I said this even before the tournament started. They can't go much forward. And that's exactly what has happened. There is a point beyond which they cannot progress with the quota system. You need to put your best available players out there on the field, whether it is level. Like the same thing I said about Shardul Thakur. I said he is no all-rounder. You know, you don't try to pass him off as an all-rounder. He's not an all-rounder. Put your best bowlers, and your best bowler was Shami. And that was right. That's exactly what has happened. In this case also, Bavuma is a good batsman. There's no doubt about it. He's an excellent batsman. But is he captaincy material? No way. No way. And, you know, whatever doubts you had at the start of the tournament, but yesterday's match thoroughly exposed him. You know, as a captain, I thought it was a pathetic performance. And they could have put anybody else as captain. Maybe Quinton de Kock could have been the captain. Maybe somebody else could have been the captain, but not Bavuma. Because yesterday, by his performance, he's shown that, you know, he was clueless. You need an inspirational leader, especially if you are going to have a team like South Africa, where you have, you know, a lot of mixed players of mixed races. You need to, you need an inspirational captain they can look up to and, you know, lift them up. And that's not happened. And that won't happen as long as, you know, they pick and choose this way.
He is South Africa's first black African cricket captain, though not the first one who's led a national team, because there is Siya Kolisi who led their team to 2 World Cup titles in rugby. But yes, I think this debate's going to continue for a while, given that it's not an easy one. I mean, you talked about Quinton de Kock becoming the captain. He himself is a divisive figure. He refused to take the knee in the T20 World Cup, right? So there is. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Can we put Vedam's audio up?
Yeah. Look, I just threw a name, you know.
No, I'm just saying.
Maybe you could go back to Markham. You could have gone to Markham.
Yeah,
You could have gone to anybody.
You're right. Markham is somebody.
I'm saying
that we're
anybody,
looking forward to. But anyway, at the end of it all, South African hearts were broken yet again in a World Cup semi-final, and it was done by Australia. And Australia would be an extremely confident side now going into that all-important final at the Narendra Modi Stadium on Sunday. So watch out, India, because this team has bounced back, and how, having won 8 games in a row now. Let's also talk about the Indian team. They arrived in Ahmedabad last evening, And just like it has happened in the past, it was a warm welcome for this Indian team. There is an optional practice session today with this Indian team at the Narendra Modi Stadium. That's, I think, at 3 p.m. I don't think there is any media activity, but yes, there is an optional practice session as we've seen throughout the World Cup. But this team has been dominant throughout the World Cup. Even the semi-final was no different. For a while there was a panicky situation, especially when Daryl Mitchell and Kane Williamson were batting. But then in came Mohammad Shami and broke that partnership, and India never looked back. But what is consistent about this side, other than the fact that they've been so dominant in this tournament, has been the complete ease with which they've carried themselves. There is no pressure, given that every second person they meet is asking them, will we win the World Cup? You guys are playing really well. But they are wearing that pressure well on themselves. It helps that someone like their fielding coach Dilip has these little fielding medal ceremonies after the match today. I happened to watch some 5-6 of them back to back, and that just gives you a sense of how close this team is and how much fun they're having in this tournament, how they are not afraid to put their bodies on the line to get a job done. And that is the ultimate job in world cricket, that is to win the World Cup. The cherry on the cake is that if they do that, it will be at home. And it doesn't get bigger, it doesn't get better than that. The man on your screens, as you were seeing, was Virat Kohli, the man with the highest number of runs. Who would have thought before this World Cup began? Actually, we did have this conversation. We said between Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, one of them will be the highest run scorer. But the manner in which this team collectively has played throughout the tournament, you've got to doff your hat to them. And it's one last match, but the most important match on 19th of November at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad. So, this is a repeat of 2003, and I was reading a piece, gentlemen, which, like how we do when there's not much to write, or you just on social media find similarities between that final and this final. And as we came to it, there are a lot of similarities. One is Rahul and Rahul, wicket-keeping batter. Now, Chetan's already rolling his eyes. Wicket-keeper batsman. Rahul Dravid, makeshift wicket-keeper batsman in 2003. KL Rahul, wicket-keeper batsman, makeshift in this one. Vice-captain, there he was the vice-captain. See, Vedam's already buying this fun similarity story. What were the others that I read? There was this.
I'll tell you the similarity. Australia beat South Africa in 1999 in the semi-final, went on to win the World Cup. They beat them in 2007.
See?
The semi-final, went on to win the World Cup.
You're playing this game well. You're playing this game well.
Yeah.
And the other one, I'll tell you. Australia won
with
all 10 matches, including every match in the group stages. So they were undefeated in that tournament, and they went on to win the World Cup, which is the
but
team.
Australia can also play this game. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, but Australia are not undefeated in this one, okay? Come on, just play along. Okay, let's play the other one. Knock, knock.
Okay.
You want to play the knock, knock game? Knock, knock? Ask me who's there.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Come on. I would have said 2003. Anyway, yes. But how big is this? India versus Australia, two of the best teams now in the tournament, in the final. It promises to be a cracker of a match simply because of how red hot in form these two teams are. Vedam?
Yeah, you spoke of the 2003 final. I was there in Joburg, and really the Ponting took the match away from India. I mean, before they even settled down in we settled down in our seats. I mean, he'd taken the match away. It was a brilliant 100. I don't think this current Australian team has got anybody who is even a patch on Ponting. That said, I think also the Indian bowling now is much more sharper, and you have three-pronged pace attack. The big challenge, of course, for the Indian team management would be to keep the entire 11 fit. We had a scare last time when Shubman Gill had those cramps, and we thought for a moment that even Virat Kohli was suffering from cramps. But I think they got back very quickly onto their feet. especially Kohli and not so much Shubman Gill. So I think the real challenge would be to keep the 11 fit for at least one more match and see that they're through with it. India, of course, is riding high. They've done very well and they've done brilliantly, not just very well, they've done brilliantly. I just read a tweet this morning that some mother in New Zealand wants to name her son as, I mean, it was a joke, I'm sure, Veera Shami Iyer. After Virat, Shami, and Shreyas Iyer. I think that was a spoof on Rachin, though, of course, Rachin's father denied it was about Rahul and Sachin. But I think that was a spoof on it. But it also shows, the amount of adulation that is there for an Indian team, which is performing so well.
I get it, but please, can I just add to this that maybe Rohit's name should have been added to that as well?
I don't know how you would fit that there, but yes, I suppose so.
Rovira. But, yeah. Anyway, go ahead, please. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, maybe instead of Veera, I should have made it Vero. Vero Shami Iyer. Okay, something like that. But what I'm saying is there is so much of adulation for the Indian team right now because they're winning. We've never seen this kind of string of victories and so dominantly. It's not just winning, but these are dominant victories. And like I said in another TV program, I said it doesn't matter when they say it was a very exciting win over New Zealand. I said, look, as long as India wins, even 2 runs victory is very exciting. 200-run victory also is very exciting. So it's like that. We want India to win, and as long as India wins, it's an exciting match. And I think this team is also geared up for that. And on all sides, when you look at it, batting, bowling. Maybe the fielding is a bit of worry, but batting, bowling is in top gear. And I think they are the pinnacle of or the zenith of what we could really achieve. And it would be a crowning glory if Rohit Sharma can pull it off at Ahmedabad on Sunday.
Yeah. Let's also now look at some of the fan vox pops. There are fans who were outside the Eden Gardens and they were happy that Australia won. But they also were cheering, of course, the Indian team. Listen into some of those fans.
What a great game. Just for cricket, it was such a sensational game and looking forward to what's going to come on Sunday. And I think everybody should get right behind it. And the one winner in this is cricket. Let's say it's a 50-50 chance. All sides can win the game on the day and it's who plays the best.
Fantastic effort by Australia to get up. They were under a lot of pressure and they didn't bat very well, but when the chips are down, they got there. But gee, it was a long 20 balls. I think Australia should be 100-1 against India. They're going to go in as the underdogs, Australia. India are a very strong side, but we've got a chance. We're there, so good luck.
It just about killed me. What are you talking about? We should have destroyed them, and we didn't. But we won because of strength and fortitude.
That was going to be a big plan for India. After tonight's game, I thought the Australians fought out pretty well. They came here not to hope on winning, they came here to win the game and they struggled towards the middle of it. But we're looking forward to India on Sunday. So it's a very good game.
Yeah, we're very, very proud of our boys. They fought right to the end. I think they were about 20 runs short, but they defended with all their hearts. Very proud. I thought they played very well. Again, a few runs shy, but in terms of the bowling and the fielding, we got lucky on some, but not lucky on the others.
I thought South Africa had a very good campaign. 2% away from going to the final, and then you never know.
The match, it was fantastic. The boys played very well. Anyway, but after all, one team had to win. So unfortunately, it was not us, but we're looking forward to play them again next time.
I think we didn't actually play very well, especially in the beginning. We were very, very slow. The boys let us down a bit there, the batterers mostly. But also the drop catches as well. Later when we were fielding, it was just unacceptable. So next time, we just need to work on our mistakes and improve from there.
Yeah, it was cool to be there. Good experience. The Indian fans were really cool. And we just came second best. Oh well, 4 years time.
It happens. We can't do. We enjoyed it a lot. Yeah, loving India. Very excited for Sunday also.
देखिए 2003 का जो बदला है वो हम लोग ले लेंगे एक बार से 10 हुई छोड़ेगा नहीं
नरेंद्र मोदी नहीं छोड़ेगा।
नहीं, वो तो अलग बात है। हम लोग, हमारा जो चार जो प्लेयर है, वो चार प्लेयर ही 100 के एकदम करीब आ जाए।
Okay, the mindset there, did you see that, Vedam? Unlike what you were just saying, that it doesn't matter how many runs you win by, the Aussies, 3 of them out of how many of them, whatever the number that they were, they said we should have destroyed them. That's their Aussie mindset. Whereas the South Africans kept saying, it's okay, we played really well, you know, the boys showed a lot of spirit. That's the difference. Aussies hunt in packs and they want to continue to do that in World Cups, and that's why they're just so difficult to beat. Whereas others are slightly more easygoing. Acha, you know, we played well, but no, I mean, I think it's a bit about mindset.
Meher, but if you look at this Australian team, it's not a patch on some of the other Australian teams which won World Cups. It really isn't a patch on it. But what they have, like you said, going for them is their Aussie spirit, you know, never say die spirit. And, you know, if you can get a guy like Travis Head to pick up 2 wickets, I mean, that means something is right with your captaincy. You're doing it right. You know, you lulled the opposition and picked up 2 wickets. That's a kind of inspirational move that you look forward to. And I think the Australians have a lot of it going for them. But, you know, in a game like this World Cup final, we know, you know, luck plays such a huge part. From every point of view, luck plays a huge part. And I think, yes, these are the 2 best teams. I would have thought at one stage that England would have been a good team, but they didn't have the temperament or the attitude to win in the subcontinent. But having said that, I think Australia have been here for a long time. They've got used to the Indian conditions, and they've played a lot of IPL. So their players are also well aware of what to expect. Again, like I said, it's just a question of luck. Whoever is lucky on the day for many things, whether it's a drop catch or the toss or the pitch behaving the way it does. You know, there's a lot of luck also involved. You need luck to be a very good sportsman, especially a cricketer. And maybe now it's just down to that. 2 good teams, maybe well-balanced teams.
On the day,
and
whoever
maybe
plays well.
You know, the rub of the green.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, this is what Mitchell Starc had to say about this big India-Australia final. He says it's certainly going to be a big occasion, a World Cup final in India. It's going to be loud. I think it's just going to be a great spectacle of cricket, no doubt. There's going to be a lot of passion there. Certainly everyone in our changing room is looking forward to it. I don't think either changing room is new to big occasions. You want to take on the best, and that's why we play the game. They've been the best team in the tournament so far, and we both find ourselves in the final. That's what World Cups are about. Pat Cummins also says the stadium is going to be packed, pretty one-sided, but we've got to embrace it. The 2015 World Cup was a career highlight, so be out there in a final in India. I can't wait. And that's another difference that you see with these Aussies in how they actually love the pressure of these big finals. They don't care about the crowd. They don't care about how partisan it's going to be, that they're not going to have too many fans. They don't care whether the DJ plays the song of their choice. They're just out there for the kill. Running out of time, there is also a bite from Sourav Ganguly, India's former captain, on what he's expecting from this big final. Listen in.
India is looking smashing at the moment, so I wish them all the best for Ahmedabad. India जबरदस्त खेला है, एक मैच बाकी है, बट वर्ल्ड कप फाइनल ही होता है, तो एक मैच बाकी है. बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं. जैसे खेल रहा है वैसे खेला तो फिर इंडिया को रोकना मुश्किल. 20 years, the common thing is 2 and 3. 2 of 2003.
See, he is also looking for similarities. You're the only one, Chetan. The only one,
we
the
didn't
cynical...
win in 2003. We didn't win in 2003.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The expectations, the demands that one has to deal with when Chetan's on the show.
No, see, look. Look. These kind of statistics, you know, make us look like Pakistan, who are always searching for that 92 repeat.
No, they don't.
Indian team is better than that. They will beat the Aussies on Sunday. So we are better than, you know, searching for a 92 repeat.
You know what these things do is that they make it fun. That there are some strange similarities that suddenly come out and you're like, wow, yeah, that's amazing. Anyway, thanks for spoiling that for me. We're completely out of time. Any last thoughts before I wrap this up? And I'm not going to let you talk. So Vedam, last word to you.
Yeah, we need a lot of talking points. So I think like these 2003, 2000, whatever, those are all good talking points.
Yeah.
But like the rest of the country, I'm looking forward to a brilliant
Yeah.
final.
Just one step away from that picture in your background, Chetan. Just one step away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll change the background, add a new
So-
picture, Rohit
Yeah,
Sharma
but you
holding
can't.
aloft that trophy.
But you cannot change Sachin's picture, so you'll have to add another one.
That's not
somewhere
going
there.
anywhere. That's
Yeah.
not going anywhere. That's not going
Okay.
anywhere.
Wonderful small talk as we wrap this up. Thank you so much, guys. Vedam and Chetan for joining us here. That's it then on this special. Hope you enjoyed it. Newsline Live is what you need to subscribe to for all the latest from the world of sports. For now, goodbye and have a happy weekend.
Hamas attacks Israel. Israel Defense Forces strike back at Hamas.